So good morning. I want to echo what some of my colleagues have expressed, which is your extreme interest in learning about local government. I have been in the county auditor's office and worked for Williamson County strictly in that department for nearly 31 years, and I love it to death. We are appointed, as Connie said, by the state district judges in your county. When I started in 1994, we had 3 state district judges, and today we have 6. The reason behind that, and I'm going to get a little geeky and a little bit historian here, I didn't appreciate history until I got to my adulthood, and I appreciate it on many levels now, to include what I do here for the county. When counties were formed in state law, one of the tasks that was given to district judges was financial oversight over the Commissioner's Court. And when those were originally formed back in the 1800s, they didn't give the district judge someone to assist with that. And as you can well imagine, they have to sit on the bench. They have many other tasks. Some counties have a district judge that visits many counties, not just one, such as our county. So in the early 1900s, 1905 to be exact, the 29th legislature was approached and created the county auditor's office. So some of the terminology that was used when the district judges approached the legislature for creating that was, we have a very great need and urgency. So they created an emergency clause, technically, and the emergency clause stated the following: we need a man, today it would be a woman as well, of unquestionably good moral character and intelligence. They would be appointed by, at that time when the law was written, by the county and district court judges. And at that time, the annual salary in 1905 was set to be $2,400 for a county auditor. And it would apply to counties with a population of 25,000 or more. In 2001, that population was actually lowered to 10,200. So any county that has a population of 10,200, the statute is a shall, and there shall be a county auditor. In 1917, the statute was updated to designate that only the district court judges would appoint the county auditor. The mindset behind that is that gives some independence to the role. Gives us the ability to not just go in and audit the purchasing department, for example, which I do. I audit to make sure they're following state law, that they're following county policies and procedures, but it also gives me the authority. Sometimes I have to tell the commissioners and the county judge, no, I'm sorry, you can't spend those funds that way. Or no, I'm sorry, we can't go down that path with that project. So it gives us our independence. The state district judges are primarily paid from state funds. And so that allows me that independence. The Commissioner's Court does not set my departmental budget, and they do not set the salaries for my office. The state district judges do that. So that is what the Commissioner's Court funds it. I'm not funded from state funds, but they have no authority over the hiring and firing and how my office is run. So lots of independence there, lots of checks and balance in Texas county government. I want to stress that. That's a really important thing. A little bit of just geeky history. We have actually only had 6 county auditors in the history of Williamson County. The first one was appointed in 1910. Their photos hang in the historic courthouse, so if you get an opportunity, visit the 3rd floor. I take a lot of pride in that. It was a project that I actually implemented and solicited some help from our county clerk's office in researching these individuals. The first one actually had worked for Southwestern University before he became a county auditor for Williamson County. The second auditor was appointed in 1919, and he was actually our longest serving county auditor. His name was Henry Hodges, and his home was just a couple of blocks from the courthouse, and he served for almost 60 years. And the reason I find that so interesting, we're appointed 2 years at a time. So he had to be reappointed almost 30 times to have served that long. So he must have been doing a really good job. The third auditor was Mr. Curio. He started in 1961. And you're going to see a common theme here that the appointment happens in an odd year. For our county, the county auditor was created and in an odd year with a term that begins January 1. So every odd year is when the county auditor in Williamson County is appointed or reappointed, okay? Our fourth county auditor was David Flores, and he started in 1989. Our fifth auditor was Jerry Jones. She started in 2017, and I was appointed in 2023 and just recently reappointed at the beginning of this year. So it's my pleasure to serve you guys as the citizens of Williamson County and being the oversight arm for the county. Some of the authority we have oversight, we have access, we have prescriptive authority, and we have verification authority. And I'm going to touch on each of those a little bit. I tell people I wear basically two hats, and it's a little bit different than in a city. Most cities don't have an audit function unless they create it through their charter, and typically that audit function reports to the city council or perhaps directly to the city manager. That gives them their independence from the other city departments. In the case of county government, I wear an audit hat and I wear a CFO hat, a financial hat. So we do all of the bookkeeping for the county. We, in our specific county, and you'll see this done 254 different ways, by the way, we also do the payroll for Williamson County. We do all of the accounts payable for Williamson County. Those are all my financial hats. And then I have a team of 7 staff who go out and audit all of the funds that county departments collect. So Ms. Judge McLean that we heard this morning, my team of auditors show up over here and we do receipt audits and make sure that what she's collecting is making its way to the county coffers. We also audit the animal shelter. They have controlled substances, as you can imagine, with drugs for taking care of animals. They also take in funds and things like that. We audit EMS. They have controlled substances. They have lots of inventory. We have a third-party billing company that collects those EMS fees, and we go and fly to South Carolina to audit that company. So I have a team of 7 that go around the county and audit all the county departments. We spend a lot of time in the property tax office. That's over 80% of the county's revenue, but we also collect for all of the other taxing jurisdictions in Williamson County, and we want to assure our city partners and other taxing entities that that department's doing a really good job for them. So those are that's where I spend a lot of my time. Under the oversight authority, there are specific local government code statutes that give me general oversight of all county books and records. We see to the strict enforcement of law governing all county finances. So in the district clerk's office, if the code prescribes that she's to collect a specific fee and that fee then needs to be turned over to the state of Texas or put in a special fund because it can only be spent for certain purposes, that's what my staff spends time making sure is happening correctly. In some counties, you will see the accounts payable function done perhaps in the county treasurer's office, but we still have the authority of having to audit every one of those accounts payable claims before they can be countersigned in our county. If it were being done that way in this county, they would be countersigned by myself and our county treasurer, Scott Hazelmeyer. So no payment can leave the county without my office auditing it. And then we countersign everything with the county treasurer. That is by state statute. The third arm of accounts payable payment is that all of our bills are approved on Tuesdays in Commissioner's Court. So we get a little clumsy if we don't have court on Tuesday. Guess what? We can't pay folks. And so we try to encourage Commissioner's Court not to cancel court on Tuesdays because that makes a lot of work for us, especially if we'd already programmed the payments for a certain day. Then we got to unravel that and change them to a different day. So a little bit different. Cities don't have that same challenge, at least in Texas as I understand it. So that's lots of checks and balance. I can't stress that enough. I also have access authority, meaning that I have the right to enter, inspect, and review. So in the case of Judge McLean, and she welcomes us with open arms all the time, she's a wonderful staff, but if for some reason we had an elected official who said, no, I'm not going to let you in here to look at my books. They don't have the authority to do that. And I have the authority of state statute that gives me continuous access to their county books. So we do surprise audits. We come in, we don't always announce ourselves, and we'll pull their cash drawer real quick and we'll count it and make sure it reconciles back to their till and what's happening in their office that day. So we do a mixture of all of those things. There's many attorney general opinions out there that have upheld the role of my office and those necessary things. Our prescriptive authority is population-based, and since we're 190,000 or more, we prescribe the system of accounting. So I set what all of that's going to look like, how's your revenue going to get accounted for, and what line items, how are you going to spend the money, in what line items. That's all set by my office. And we determine the time and manner of all these departments having to turn those reports into us. So that's one of the things that falls under prescriptive authority. Under verification authority, this goes back to the discussion about the accounts payable claims as an example. A claim, bill, or account may not be paid until examined by the auditor. Again, this is local government code. Pretty much everything that I abide by lives in the local government code. And we may not approve a claim unless it was incurred as provided by law. So for example, if the purchasing department doesn't do the purchasing piece of that correctly, we cannot pay that claim, okay? If it is not a direct benefit to the Williamson County taxpayer, I cannot deem that a legal expenditure of the county. So there's a lot that goes into what we look at and what we have to do. And then when we're out auditing, for example, with Judge McLean or the constables, the sheriff's office, the various courts, there's a lot of code of criminal procedure. Those codes may prescribe the fee structure that they're to be collecting on a particular offense. So we have to be familiar with all those codes. So there's a lot of things that my staff have to do. The duties of an auditor vary across the state. In this county, everything I've just explained to you is what I do. In some counties, your county auditor is also your budget officer. That's population driven. In some counties, they may be your purchasing director as well. We've gotten big enough that it just makes more sense for those things to be separated, and they're handled better that way. A couple of other things real quick I'll touch on. I think I already talked about all those things. Sorry, I'm going through a quick slideshow that I stole from another county auditor that we do for new county auditors, which we will be teaching next week in College Station. So I mentioned we audit the books and reports of county officials. The code actually says that we shall do that quarterly. So I have to have my staff on some level in every fee collecting office quarterly. And so we handle all of those things. I mentioned the surprise cash counts. We audit all the dockets of the justices of the peace, the constables, the sheriff, the tax assessor. And then I'll touch for just a quick second. Commissioner Covey mentioned it. We have a citizens audit committee here in Williamson County. That is not anything that's prescribed by state statute. And one thing to always keep in mind with counties in Texas is everything we do has to be laid out in state statute. We really can't make it up as we go along. And if we do make it up, we certainly really can't spend money on it. So it's pretty black and white for us. Our citizens committee was actually created when Judge Gaddis was our county judge. And we have 3 citizens who serve on that committee. We originally started with 2. We grew it to 3. Currently, they're CFOs in the healthcare industry. One of them is CFO for YMCA here in Williamson County. The other one works for St. David's Health Foundation, I believe. So we try to recruit folks that have a CPA background because we have a very large report that they get to read once a year before we finalize it. So we want to make sure that folks have an understanding of what we're trying to produce here and what we're required to produce. This is a 200-page document that we produce every year. So most of this document we're actually required to produce by state law and or because we receive federal and state funding, okay? Some of this document is then put into a program we call Government Finance Officers Association, oversees a grading program that says, put your report out to a particular criteria, and we're going to give you a certificate of excellence in that financial reporting structure. That is a very important key for Williamson County because we hold a AAA bond rating. And if we were not carrying our financial reporting to this level, we would not be able to maintain that AAA bond rating. We have been AAA since 2010. And that was one of the most exciting things in my career. And I'll actually tell you, as a very boring accountant, I was doing cartwheels in the courthouse. We had worked on that for a very, very long time. When Mr. Flores got here in 1989, Williamson County was actually a B-. So we've come a long ways. The other thing we do, and I passed them out, if you didn't get one, I'm going to leave these up front. We do this for fun, but we also turn it in for grading. I actually have a couple of accountants in my office that I call creative accountants, not because we're cooking the books, but because they like to play with pictures and tell stories. I'm not good at playing with pictures and telling stories. I'm much better at numbers. And so we started this project about 18, 19 years ago. I've lost track of time. It says in the document somewhere how long we've been doing it. And it was in an effort to put this product out there so that people could perhaps have a better understanding of the county's financial standing in layman's terms. And this year we decided to, every year we pick a group or a function in the county that we try to highlight. And this year we highlighted the Conservation Foundation. And since Commissioner Covey mentioned that, you can find a little bit of information in here about the foundation. So I think I'll give y'all a little bit of time back because a lot of what I do can be very boring, but I find it fun. Are there any questions? Can I help anybody with any questions? I'll mention one thing that's just for me a very interesting stat. When I got here in 1994, the general fund budget was $11 million. The 2025 general fund budget was adopted at $361.2 million. That's just one fund. That's our main operating fund. We manage over $1 billion a year. So just to kind of put things in perspective. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts, concerns?
So do the other departments ever kind of lean on you and are like, can you be the bad guy that tells them they can't do this?
So I am often the bad guy, but I think there's a lot of mutual respect. And they often will call ahead of time so that they're not asking forgiveness after the fact. But I work very, very closely with the general counsel that works for the Commissioner's Court. I work with the commissioners and the county judge. I work with all the elected departments. I was brought up in this business, and it's not a criticism. Please don't take my comments that way. Again, we have 254 counties. We actually only have about 150 county auditors across the state. Some of them have 2 and 3 counties that they oversee, and then some are so small. Some are so small they don't have an auditor. But you will see some county auditors will post those audits I was discussing. We actually do a written report. We're required by law to provide those audits to the Commissioner's Court and to my 6 district judges that I answer to. We don't publish those on our website. I'm a strong believer, and I was brought up in this business, that we are not here to embarrass anyone. We all make mistakes, including my own staff. I get audited. That's how this document gets produced. We try to be a partner to all the county departments. We try to educate them as to why that expenditure is not appropriate, and it's not just me saying no like I'm their mama. And so we don't publicly publish those reports. If there's an open records request made, we have to provide them. But I was brought up that if we're embarrassing a fellow comrade in this business, we're embarrassing the county as a whole. And that would never be my goal. So I'm here to help them. I'm here to help them fix it and make it better so that the whole county can be successful. So does that answer your question? Anybody else?
I have one other question.
That's fine.
I was talking about this with a friend, and I saw that y'all have an award that y'all have gotten for like 18 years, I think it was what it said. But do y'all have any other awards? And the reason I ask is because this friend is like, oh, I got an email, he works for the county, but he was like, oh, we got this email that like they won this award because they have so much in their rainy day fund and they won't spend the money. And I was like, I don't think that's how it works.
No, we didn't get an award because
we clarification,
yeah.
So I can take it back to him.
I think what they could be construing that comment from is our bond rating, okay? But it's not because we have so much in our rainy day fund. It's because we've established policies. We have a rainy day fund policy. We call it a fund balance policy for the general fund specifically, our main operating fund of 35% of budgeted expenditures. Why does that policy exist? I think several of you have probably lived in the area. My younger years in the office, we had the Gerald tornadoes, okay? We've had some very unfortunate situations. We've had snowvid. We had COVID. Before we knew that any federal money was coming down to assist us with COVID, we were spending county funds. Those were not funds that were budgeted. And we can't go spend money we don't already have in the rainy day fund or that we're not currently receiving revenue for. We are heavily reliant at the county level, at least for Williamson County, on property tax. So as you can imagine, we have to put disciplines and policies in place that protect our citizens, protect our ability to provide you with health and safety. That's one of our strongest requirements. And so when those tornadoes happen, when COVID happens, when snowvid happens, that all falls under health and safety. That becomes a budget amendment. And where do we go for those budget amendments? We go to that rainy day fund. What a rating agency says is you've established a policy and are you living within your policy? And that's what they're going to grade us on, okay? And the next thing that we do is anything over that rainy day policy, we have communicated to the rating agencies that we are taking a very deliberative process of pulling down that additional funding with a plan. Because if you go in and raid that rainy day fund, even if it's available and it exceeds that 35% balance, but you do it all in 1 year, you're not sending a very good financial message. And so we call that program our capital improvement program, and we use those excess fund balance reserves for remodel projects. My office is currently, we have been on an Oracle financial software system since 1998, and we are having to replace that system. That is very expensive. So that's where some of those rainy day funds get used for, is one-time 7 to 10 year life expectancy type projects. Not it's time to replace an ambulance, it's time to replace a law enforcement vehicle or someone's uniform in their office. So does that help? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a lot of awards and the county has a lot of awards, but it's not because we're sitting on funds on purpose. That's not the goal. All right.
All right, thank you so much.